Does sailing around the Caribbean or the Mediterranean on a private sailing yacht sound like your cup of tea? Stay tuned as today we do a review of Island Windjammers. My guest today is Jody Ryland, Vice President of Sales and Operations for Cruise and Travel Experts. With 30 years service in the travel industry on both the corporate and leisure side, Jody and her team of expert travel advisors have been meeting the needs of their clients in and around Michigan and across the country. Hi, Jody. Welcome to RTE-Travel Talk. It's great to have you with us, Jody. So, I've been to the Caribbean more times than I can count on various cruise lines. But the one thing I've yet to experience and happens to be on the minds of some of our viewers and listeners is cruising around the Caribbean under sail. Now, I happen to know that you recently returned from just such a voyage with a company called Island Windjammers. So I was hoping today that you and I could spend a little time and review the cruise, and perhaps you can provide some tips and tricks for our viewers and listeners. How does that sound?
Absolutely.
Super, super. So let's dive right in. First off, Jody, can you tell us a little bit about Island Windjammers, where you went, and what kind of sets them apart from the other cruise lines?
Ken, this was a bucket list trip for me, and actually, there were 9 of us in our group that went.
Oh, wow.
It was actually a 60th birthday party trip for my oldest sister. So we sailed out of St. Maarten, went to Anguilla and St. Bart's, and then back to St. Maarten, and it was fabulous. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Wow. So how many people were on board?
Well, the ship holds 10 crew and 26 passengers. Our sailing happened to have 18 passenger, a little fewer than what the ship holds.
Wow, it's really intimate.
Yes, very.
So how did you find the overall experience, Jody?
Oh my gosh, it was just I would say it's adventure. It's an adventure trip. It is truly under sail. They do use the engines,
right,
but it was just a great experience, very casual. I wouldn't categorize it as luxury.
Right.
I would definitely say it's adventure travel. So just a fantastic experience.
Tell me a little bit about the actual ship you're on.
It was the Vela, which they have 3 ships in their suite of ships.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on the Vela, which is actually the largest of the 3.
Okay.
10 crew. You can help raise the sails, which they encourage people to do. The first day we got on, everybody was helping raise the sails, and well, whoever wanted to, of course. It was just a fantastic, very casual experience.
When I originally saw that you'd gone on this, it kind of reminded, well, great, I'm looking to line this up against like other cruise lines like a Star Clippers or a Windstar, but their ships are actually much larger. This is a really unique experience.
Yes, very unique. Nothing like Windstar or Star Clippers.
Yeah, exactly.
Much smaller ships. Much more, I hate to say intimate, but because it's such a small ship with so few passengers, you really get to know the crew, the other clients on board. Just fantastic.
So what was the overall ambiance on board? Like you mentioned, like this is adventure travel as opposed to like luxury travel. How did you find it?
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, off screen. I am a very casual person. I'm in shorts, t-shirt, ball hat, flip-flops. That's me.
Yeah.
That was this entire experience. They say pack very light. There's not a lot of space in your cabins, which we'll get to, of course, but shorts, t-shirts, swimsuits. You could bring a sundress, or gentlemen could bring slacks if you decide to go off on shore to have dinner one evening or something, but on board, very casual.
Right on. So they definitely don't stand on any kind of formality. It's just, if I'd be right at home in my flip flops and tank top and just
for sure
taking it cool, a baseball hat.
For sure. Yes. And they encourage you to be barefoot.
Yeah.
They say you can wear flip flops, but they say, you're overdressed.
So you mentioned the cabins. How did you find them in terms of comfort? What were they like?
Well, the cabin that I stayed in was one of the kind of nicer cabins, if I guess you could say, but it was still, the cabins are very small. There's a few cabins that if I did it again, I would definitely choose maybe the top sail cabin, which there's only one.
Right.
There's 2 compass cabins, which I would stay in. or the owner's suite. Those four would be my first choice if I were to sail again with them, which I probably will.
Okay.
The cabin that I stayed in, and that some of my friends stayed, my sister and her boyfriend stayed in a Compass cabin, has a queen size bed, has a nightstand, more areas for you to put your luggage and clothes. Whereas the cabin I was in, there's a little cubby space underneath the bed, which is a full size bed. There's no closets. That storage is it. At the foot of the bed, there was a shelf, which became, kind of where we put a lot of our clothes.
Right.
Hooks everywhere to hang stuff. Bathroom, very small, of course. Like I said, I think if I were to sail again, I would definitely take one of those four cabins I just mentioned, just because of space.
Well, when you think about it, you're on a sailing yacht. Like the
Correct.
fact that you've got even that amount of space is
Yeah.
is really kind of amazing. And
Absolutely.
I would have to think that no matter which cabin you chose, you're not going to spend a lot of time in it anyway.
No.
Yeah.
No. You're there to shower, sleep, change.
Exactly.
And I will say, one of the gals that went with us in our group, she was a single. So they do have two solo cabins on board. And I went and looked at her cabin, and I was pleasantly surprised with the size of it for a single on a sailing boat. And she was quite comfortable.
So in other words, this is a good option for somebody that wants to go solo.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And again, just because there's only 26 passengers, you really want to book far in advance. This particular ship and the other two, they fill up very fast.
Really?
So
Yeah.
we booked this over a year in advance. And when we booked it, the owner's suite was already booked. The top sail cabin was already booked. One of the solo cabins was booked. So you really need to book this far in advance.
Yeah, so that's similar to river cruising. Because the ships are small and capacity is limited, they are going to fill up fast and in advance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the itinerary. Which islands did you visit? I would expect with the size of this ship, you could probably get off the beaten seaway due to the size of it a bit, right?
Oh, sure. So we sailed out of St. Maarten. We went in, and so we stayed 2 nights prior in St. Maarten.
Okay.
Which I will say, we stayed at the Holland House right there in Phillipsburg, right on the beach, on the boardwalk. Absolutely stunning. I would recommend that to anybody. Always want to fly in a day early at least prior to a sailing like this.
Yep.
We happened to go in 2 days prior. Then when we boarded the ship, by the way, I should say, they don't dock. They are anchored. Getting on and off the ship at any of the islands, you are on a dinghy. Something to definitely keep in mind if you have any type of handicaps or physical, it's going to be very difficult for you to get on and off the ship. So we overnighted on the ship in St. Maarten first night, and in Phillipsburg in the bay there. And then the next day we sailed to the other side of St. Maarten. We went to the French side. And so then after that, we sailed to Anguilla, which isn't too far, of course, from St. Maarten. We overnighted in Anguilla, spent a couple days there on both sides of the island, which was awesome. And then we sailed from there to St. Bart's and overnighted in St. Bart's, and then sailed back to St. Maarten, where we disembarked in St. Maarten.
Oh, fantastic. So you mentioned that you overnighted in a couple of these places. Do they have such a thing as like shore excursions or activities for you once, when you're in these particular areas? How does that work?
Well, again, you're on a dinghy.
Yeah.
They did have prearranged excursions that you could sign up for, which they use local excursion companies, similar to any cruise line, of course.
Yeah.
So we had a few options in each island to do, which was awesome. I will say we did some of the beach excursions. In St. Bart's, we actually didn't do an excursion. We chose to get off and rent a couple cars, drove around St. Bart's, went snorkeling at one of the beaches. The last day in St. Bart's, some people got off to go into St. Bart's to go shopping. A few of us chose to get on the dinghy with a couple of the crew, and we did a little snorkeling adventure off of the dinghy, which was probably my highlight. It was amazing.
Fantastic.
I even saw a lobster.
Fantastic.
It was pretty cool.
Now, speaking of lobster, we've got to talk about my favorite part of any cruise, whether it's river, ocean, or under sail, and that's the food.
Yes.
How did you find the onboard dining experience?
I will say, you're on a sailing boat. There's two cooks. They were fabulous, I should say, chefs. They were amazing. The food was awesome, I will say. For a sailing boat,
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I mean, it's not like you're gonna sit down at a luxury dinner. Again, you're on a sailing boat. The first night, which was really cool, they set up all the tables out on the deck. They had really great lighting out there for us. And, we had two waiters, of course, that basically were catered to us the entire week, served us plated dinners, plated breakfasts, plated lunches. And I have to touch on this because my sister's a vegetarian.
Okay.
And it's not like you have a menu put in front of you. They literally put the menu on a whiteboard in the morning.
Yeah.
And
This is what
I'm
you're
not
going to
kidding.
get. Yeah.
Yep, this is what you're getting. And if you're going to be off the boat
Yeah.
during the day, or if you're going to be off in the evening for dinner, let's say, you just checked your name off the whiteboard
Yeah.
so that they weren't cooking for you, of course. But the food was really good. They catered to my sister, who was a vegetarian. They will cater to gluten. But beyond that, kosher, vegan, any other type of food allergies, no.
Yeah.
So if you have those type of food allergies, don't sail with them.
But again, if somebody's considering something like this, it's
Mhm.
it's all about a conversation with your expert travel advisor to make sure that this particular cruise line is the best fit for you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, Ken, the food was good. The food was fabulous. I have absolutely zero complaints. I don't think any of us did. They did a fabulous job.
It sounds great. Now, a large part of being on board really any type of a cruise is the service and the crew, because they contribute really to the overall experience. How did you find them?
Oh my gosh. They were so down to earth, so awesome, very engaged with all of the passengers. The bosun, Sophie, to have a female bosun is pretty impressive.
Wow.
She was by far the most amazing. Somebody had asked her, walking around, of course, the boat, you're looking at all the lines and the knots, and it's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And she said, do you guys want me to do a knot class? And we were like, yeah. So she sat down on the deck, and a bunch of us, not everybody, but probably at least 10 of us sat, and she gave us a knot tying class, which was really cool. It's just kind of spontaneous.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, very engaged crew.
So that leads me into the next question. I'd have to imagine that due to the size of the ship, the onboard entertainment and the activities are going to be really different. And
Very
I would
different.
think there's probably some opportunities for some really special moments. Would I be right about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like Sophie doing the knot class. They also did like a trivia night. They had a scavenger hunt where you had to go take pictures of, they had like 26 different things that you had to get a picture of on board, which was really fun and really good for you to have those memories, because you wouldn't think to take pictures of some of the things that you had to take pictures of, right?
Yep.
So I have some pretty cool pictures
Yep.
from doing that. Obviously there's no shows or anything on board,
Yep.
it was more engaging with the crew and doing things that
Exactly. Yeah.
you with the crew. So it was fun.
Yeah. When you were sailing in between islands, when did you do most of your sailing? During the day or during the evening?
Usually in the morning.
Okay.
When you were transferring from, sailing from one island to the next, and then anchoring, because then you could get off and do the excursions, or, go shopping, or you're going to the beach or what have you.
Yeah.
The longest sail day that we had was going from Anguilla to St. Bart's. That I think took us about 6 hours.
That's not so bad. Yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours of sailing. Yeah.
Now, on that, should this be something I should be concerned about about it being rough?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. You're on a sailboat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's meant to rock,
Yeah.
right? Sailboats are actually the safest boats that exist, and it's because they can take the rolling of the seas,
Yeah.
right? So, did everybody on board have seasick patches on? Absolutely. Even when you're anchored, you're rocking.
Yeah.
It's constant. I slept fabulously, I will say.
Yes, probably you get rocked to sleep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the sailing from Anguilla to St. Bart's, they even, kind of warned us that, this will be the roughest because you're hitting some open water
Yep.
while sailing, and you're doing 15, 20 knots. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
that's definitely something you need to think about. If that's an issue for you, then this may not be a great choice. But
Absolutely.
if you're into adventure travel and adventure cruising, this sounds fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they have a ton of different itineraries. They sail in the Caribbean, of
Yeah.
course, a lot. The other two boats that they have, the Diamond only holds 10 passengers.
Wow.
And I think it's 8 crew. And then the other boat, the Lara, I think only holds 8 passengers and 4 crew. So, you could literally charter one of those if you had a group, for
Oh,
instance.
fantastic. Now, the one thing about the Caribbean that they're really well noted for is the stunning sunsets. Did you have lots of opportunities to partake of that? And was that kind of a highlight for you?
It was. The Caribbean sunsets, come on, you can't beat them.
Yeah.
You just can't. And they were fabulous. I think we only had one night where there wasn't really a sunset, where it was kind of cloudy, but they were just spectacular. Yeah. Absolutely spectacular.
So tell me, Jody, what was the highlight of your trip with Island Windjammers?
Oh, geez.
If you had to pick one.
There were so many, but because I like to snorkel and I've did a lot of diving in the past, and the snorkel off the dinghy was probably my highlight. I have to say, it was just awesome.
Fantastic. So Jody, for somebody considering a cruise with Island Windjammers, what tips would you have for them?
Pack light.
Mm-hmm.
People show up. Fortunately, I heeded that warning. I told everybody in my group to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody listened. And pack light, because you don't have a lot of space in your cabin.
Right.
So that would be my first tip. My second tip would be make sure that you're physically able to climb stairs, get on and off the dinghy. We had to do one wetland landing in Anguilla, and getting in and out of the dinghy, it can be challenging.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you don't have any physical ailments that are going to prevent you from that. Also, the one other thing I do want to mention is on the boat, to get to the cabins, you're going down steep stairs to get below deck. There's about, I want to say 10 stairs. Obviously, they have railings, but when that boat is rocking and you're trying to come up and down those stairs, so you just want to make sure that you're physically able to do this type of a sailing.
That's really good advice. So when we think about that and your advice to people, Jody, is this a cruise line that you'd recommend to perhaps somebody with a family, or is it better suited for couples and adventurers?
Absolutely, for families. I will say there are 3 or 4 cabins that have bunks.
Okay.
So you have a full-size bed and then the bunk. I will say the bunk is not for adults. It is definitely for a child, because there's not a whole lot of space between the bunk and the ceiling. So for a child, it would probably be good, but they absolutely have children and family groups that come on board, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Families would be welcome.
When you think about it, what a great thing to expose your kids to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to remember that for a very long time.
Yes. And I will say Island Windjammers take safety very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of had a safety briefing as soon as we got on with the captain. And the captain ate dinner with us every night, I will say. Very safety conscious.
Fantastic. Well, Jody, this is absolutely super information. Is there anything else you would advise people who are looking to book a cruise for either later this year or next on Island Windjammers?
I would say call our office and get it booked as soon as possible, because, again, these ships are not big, and they sell out very quickly. The sooner you can pick an option with them, the better.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if folks wanted to find out more information about an Island Windjammers cruise, or perhaps another unique cruise in the Caribbean, how would they do that?
Well, definitely call our office. Mm-hmm. You can reach our office at 800-798-9950, or shoot us an email at sales@cruiseandtravelexperts.com.
Super.
We would love to get you on board.
Super. I'll leave those links in the description. But just before we get out of here, one of the favorite things that I love about this show that I do is I get to live vicariously through the travels of all the experts I interview. So I have to know, where are you off to next?
I am off to Budapest this fall on an AMA river cruise.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Super, super. Well, we'll have to have you back to regale us with your adventures in Budapest. How does that sound?
I would love it, Ken. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, with that, Jody, I'm just going to wish you and all of your team at Cruise and Travel Experts all the best. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see you on a Lido deck sometime soon.
Thanks, Ken. Me too.
Take care.
You too.
And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guest, Jody Ryland of Cruise and Travel Experts. If you'd like to reach Jody or one of her team, I will leave her contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach us with a suggestion for a future interview or a question, you can send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com, visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoy this content, a like, subscribe, share, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps us to spread the word. So until next time, happy travels!